Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Payoff Pitch. My name is Joey Olberding, and you are tuned in to 95.7 MRC, and I will be your host for all things sports. Alright, so this time we're talking about a pretty big deal, and the fact that we're continuing our discussion about the NFL playoffs, which if you tuned in last week or however long ago, you would remember I left off for the playoffs. The playoffs that happened on Saturday and Sunday, and there were some great games. There were some fantastic games that were played between, the Saints and the Vikings, the Jaguars and the Steelers, Patriots, Titans, and of course, the Falcons and the Eagles. Now, I'm going to be finishing off what I started, I suppose, a week ago, and I will be continuing on this Tuesday, January 16th, and what we will be talking about will be all the upcoming games, including the Super Bowl. Now, I've only had one prediction that has gone wrong so far in this NFL playoffs, and that was the Eagles-Falcons game. I thought that the Falcons would win. I thought, they have Matt Ryan, they have Julio Jones. I thought they would win. But they couldn't pull it out against the Eagles in a surprisingly low-scoring affair, being 15-10. And that surprised me. I was thinking for sure that the Falcons would win, that it would be a pretty easy ball game for them. But it was not. And so the Eagles move on. And everything else I've predicted correctly, which surprises myself, to be quite honest. So, let's talk about the Eagles then, because the Eagles will be facing a very good NFC team in the Vikings. Now, if you weren't able to tune in to the Vikings-Saints game that was on Sunday, well, you missed quite possibly one of the greatest games of football that will ever be played. It was amazing in the fact that the ending went two ways. First way, with 24 seconds to go, a field goal by Will Lutz, the Saints kicker, to get them 3 points, to get them up by 2. The Vikings, now with 24 seconds to play, are scrambling down the field, just trying to get a field goal so that they can win the game. They were not expecting a touchdown, and quite frankly, most people in Minnesota were not expecting them to win, and neither was I watching the game. And I was thinking, oh, there goes my second prediction, because this was the last divisional round game before the conference championship games were to begin. But Case Keenum, the quarterback for the Vikings, makes a terrific throw to Adam Thielen, and just an amazing catch, really. And that puts them in field goal range. And after that, they're trying to push for a little more. So Case Keenum tries a long pass, a pass that, maybe it probably wouldn't work for most quarterbacks. And Case Keenum isn't exactly known to be the best quarterback ever, but he's had a great year this year. And so I think that, Case Keenum is a very underrated quarterback. You'll see most people say, Case Keenum, he's had one good year, but the rest of his career, no, forget about the rest of his career for a second. You gotta look at what he's actually done, and it's been amazing. Stephon Diggs comes up with this catch, amazing catch, up in the air, and the Saints safety, poor guy, he was just trying to get the tackle on him, but Stephon Diggs was able to avoid it, barely stayed in bounds somehow, and was able to score on an easy touchdown. A touchdown with time expiring. And that is one of the best things you'll ever see. And, all the Vikings are celebrating. They kept the call. Everybody's celebrating. The Saints have left the field. And the officials are like, oh, you still gotta kick your point. It took them 20 minutes to get just 11 people onto the field for both teams in order to do that. And they just spiked the ball. They didn't even go for the extra point, so it's all quite amusing. So, the Eagles-Vikings game. Well, I want to give my props to Nick Foles. just really quick, who is the quarterback of the Eagles currently? Of course, Carson Wentz is a star quarterback and should have won MVP this year. Too bad he came down with an injury in Week 15. So, the thing with Nick Foles is that he, was a backup quarterback, and just coming in, he's done alright for himself. I wouldn't say he's done great because he hasn't. I wouldn't say he's done bad because he hasn't. He's done acceptable. And, I just mentioned this fact about Case Keenum that, he's super underrated. He's had as good of a year this year, but sports writers still aren't into him. And most people say, oh, Case Keenum, he's alright. He's a lot like Nick Foles. That's not the case. Case Keenum has been a great quarterback this year and is definitely one of the most underrated star quarterbacks. Just a breakout year for him. And most people are saying, oh, it's a fluke, he'll be that next year. But we'll have to see about that first. We have to finish this year, right? So, I think that the Eagles are a solid team. And, of course, so are the Vikings. I think the fact that, the Vikings, they have a better quarterback is going to go a long way. Also, I would say that the Vikings have a better defense. So, in those two aspects, at the very least, the Vikings are definitely better. Along with the running game. Oh, yeah, the running game. How could I forget that? Jerick McKinnon, Latavius Murray had a great game. And Nick Foles isn't a running quarterback. Carson Wentz is more so, but, he's injured. So, I think that threat of the QB running isn't really in either team. Both teams aren't really rushing quarterback types. More just, throw the ball quarterback types. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, both teams have gotten this far, NFC Championship game, so they can't be too bad. And so, because of that, I have to say that I would go for the Vikings in a game against the Eagles, because frankly, I think that the Vikings are better in most aspects. Well, in the AFC, you have the Patriots. Of course, sports writers once again are saying, oh, well, not very many good quarterbacks. Maybe one, maybe two quarterbacks. Nick Foles is alright, but he shouldn't be in the conference championship game. And like I keep mentioning with Case Keenum, everybody's saying, oh, well, he's having a fluke year, he's not actually that good. But I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He came in Week 3, and he's done as well as Drew Brees, who played the entire season. So, I think that kind of speaks for itself, especially when you have a quarterback like Case Keenum coming in and just, wrecking everything. And, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is an amazing quarterback, and, he's the Patriots guy, and they're all saying, oh, well, Tom's there. At least we have one person. And then you look at the team they're facing, the Jaguars. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the Jaguars again. And Blake Bortles. More like bad Bortles. That's not what people are actually saying, but that's what I imagine people are thinking in their minds. Because Blake Bortles is an inconsistent quarterback. And because of his inconsistency, people think he's bad. Now, I want to make one thing clear, and one thing clear only. Blake Bortles is not a bad quarterback. The thing about him is he's lacked weapons for a while. He hasn't had really offensive, wide receivers that are actually good. And he especially hasn't really had a running game. But in comes, Leonard Fournette, Allen Hurns, threats coming in. Threats, for the opposing team. And, of course, everybody coming into the season thinking, Blake Bortles at the helm. He's bad. No, he's not. He's done perfectly fine this season. And, I mentioned before, he's a really good running quarterback. And for a while for the Jaguars, he was the running threat. And because of no weapons, he had to force to, go on the ball, run a lot. And he would usually get pretty solid yardage out of it. But he never did it enough. And now that he's learning more about how much of a weapon he can be, he's using it more and more and more, and realizing that he's a better and better quarterback. And the Jaguars are getting better and better. Now, most of that has to go to their defense. Their elite defense, the best in the league, has really shown just how amazing it has been this entire time. And if the Jaguars were to win, they could face an equally elite defense in the Vikings. But they have to get past Tom Brady first. And, everybody wants the underdog to win, or in this case, the undercat. But some things never change. And in my eyes, the fact that the Patriots will get to the Super Bowl is a fact that won't change anytime soon as long as Tom Brady is quarterback and Bill Belichick is at the helm. Everybody's saying, oh, there's tension in New England. Finally. There isn't. I mean, it was about the trade of Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers. Tom didn't want it. Bill Belichick did. Oh, there's tension now. It's still a coach and his player. Tom Brady may be the greatest of all time, but still, you have to look at it like this. A coach is a coach, a player is a player. A player can eventually become a coach, and a coach can once be a player, but the coach is still the coach and the player is still the player. And coaches, should have power over the players, and that's how that should be. And Bill Belichick is not going to get fired anytime soon. Tom Brady is not going to get traded anytime soon. There is no tension. Robert Kraft is not leaving anytime soon. And because of that consistency that the Patriots have had for so many years, that'll get them past the Jaguars in a way that, the Patriots know things. They know how to get past an elite defense. They've done it many times before. However, they were not able to do it against the Broncos in 2014, I do believe. But, that was 4 years ago now. Man, time flies. And that really shows that, Tom Brady's learned. And many people are saying, oh, Tom's had his best year yet this year. That's because as a veteran, he's learning more. Even, 10 years ago in 2007, that undefeated season, Tom Brady was a veteran, but he didn't know everything. That's why he lost against the Giants in the Super Bowl. And that's why he had to learn. He had to learn to be a better quarterback and be able to know how to face an elite defense. Luckily, Tom has learned. He's been able to learn a lot, actually. He's been able to learn, about how to face these elite defenses, and the Jaguars are just too inexperienced. The Jaguars have a great defense. They're already in the AFC Championship game, which nobody would have expected coming into this year. But the fact stands that the Patriots have more experience, and experience matters a lot in this league. In any sport, in anything. Experience is a big deal. You're never going to see, the rookie get the veteran's number time after time after time, especially when the veteran has already been there so many times and the rookie's still there the first. A big reason why the Broncos were able to beat the Patriots is because Peyton Manning had that veteran leadership and knew a lot about the Super Bowl, considering he'd already been there with the Colts. And so, I think that makes it so, the Patriots will be able to beat the Jaguars. So that means my Super Bowl of 2018 would be the Patriots and the Vikings. Now, the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl again. Oh boy, here we go. Tom's gonna, come in, destroy, leave, and never come back until next year. And that may be the case. The Vikings also are a more inexperienced team. The Patriots have that experience, and the Vikings have as elite a defense as the Jaguars. So, I bet you're thinking, oh, the Patriots are going to win again. Well, they are, but let's analyze why. See, the Vikings are another good team. They're better than the Jaguars. And as much as I love the Jaguars, and as much as I've talked about how I love the Jaguars over the course of this football season in 2018, I think that there's no way that you can beat a Vikings team with a quarterback so amazingly consistent this year as Case Keenum. Now, if there's one thing I've done in this episode of the Payoff Pitch, if there's something that I love to do, is I talk about how great Case Keenum is. And okay, he's no Tom Brady. Both quarterbacks, both Tom Brady and Case Keenum, do not run the ball. They do not run it themselves. And that's something Blake Bortles has over Case Keenum. And I'm not saying that makes Blake Bortles better than Case Keenum, because Case Keenum is a better quarterback. He's better at passing the ball. And frankly, he has more weapons. But the Patriots are built on a little something called weaponry. They have weapons at every position that you don't even know the names of. James White, Rex Burkhead at running back. Then they have wide receivers. Chris Hogan had a really good game against the Falcons last year. Now, people have a little more, they're kind of like, okay, well, now I know who that is. And, they've been able to build stars year after year while still having Tom Brady at the helm. And that's something that, they've had for years. Years upon years upon years. And that hasn't changed at all. Malcolm Butler against the Seahawks, he turned into a star cornerback and still plays for the Patriots. So, the Patriots have so many weapons that it's hard to say, it's hard to say that they won't have a chance to win the Super Bowl if they do go to the Super Bowl. They always have something up their sleeve, and they're always preparing for the next team, and they're always doing a good job at it. Tom's been in the business, and so has Bill Belichick, and so has Robert Kraft. Been in the business for so long that it almost feels impossible to win against them until Tom inevitably retires. I say inevitably, but at this point, I'm not even sure if he can retire. He still looks like he's 28, and he's 42. Ugh, I can't believe it either. So, that's why I'm saying that the Patriots will win. It could be a really close game, like the Falcons game. It could be a really great game, like the Vikings-Saints game. But I hate to say it, but the Patriots are the best team in the NFL and the best of the 4 teams still in the playoff race. If you enjoyed this edition of the Payoff Pitch, because that'll do it for the Payoff Pitch, then make sure to go into YouTube and search up the Payoff Pitch and subscribe to Clark Montessori and follow SoCo Club on Twitter. And from me, Joey Olberding, I hope you'll stay tuned to Cincinnati MRC 95.7 for more Payoff Pitch and so much more.